Hey everybody, welcome to Car Meet Garage. My name is Don Middleton. Welcome everybody to Car Meet Garage. My name is Don Middleton. Welcome back to an episode of Car Meet Garage. My name is Don Middleton. Welcome to another episode. Welcome to another Car Meet Garage. My name is Don. Thanks for tuning in to another Car Meet Garage. As always, my name is Don. Welcome to the very first day of Season 2 of Car Meet Garage. To my left is, we all know him as Car Meet Greg. We're in his shop, and like usual, like Season 1, we travel to you to talk to you about you.
You could do you want him.
That's a lot of use. and your car, and your shop, and your hobby, and to keep you entertained through the winter time. Right, Greg?
When we're not having car meets, we're not seeing each other.
I miss being with you. I miss being near you. I miss your laugh.
Every weekend. This kind of picks up that slack until we do get back to getting out in the sunshine and popping our hoods or, you know.
And there's a lot of people that we like seeing some of the cars, like your 67 Camaro. I got the 67, yeah. Oh, I thought I was gonna get that wrong. Like Greg's 67 Camaro, it's almost at this season really wasn't, because obviously there's something giant that we'll get to in a minute in the engine bay. But these are a lot of fun to do. I know Greg enjoys it. We like coming to your shops to kind of see where your stuff is being built.
It's just as beneficial for us as it is for the viewers, because during the meet, sometimes we're a little tied up doing things, managing the meets and stuff, so we don't get to have the conversations with some of the members that we want to. And doing this through the winter, it's really cool seeing what everybody's shop looks like, because you get to see their cars at the meets. You can have conversation with them at the meets, but you don't really get to see what they're working with, what they use to make the thing that they're driving to the meet.
Right, because everybody's car isn't turned out in a multi-million-dollar shop. I can appreciate if that's the route you went. With some people, they don't have that budget and they're turned out in your regular down the street garage, just like we're sitting in here, what I have at my house. And
yeah.
And I think everybody turns out what they really like out of their own shop, and you can appreciate that.
Yeah, and we did a good nearly 30 episodes last season, and that's about 30 garages we were into, and we saw everything from bare bones, could hardly get in, no heat, one light, cramped spaces.
Right, that's why I went on about the lights.
One toolbox to full, spotless, completely stocked
surgical.
tools.
We had that conversation yesterday on the phone about talking about some shops that are just absolutely surgical.
Yeah. Brian's for one.
Brian Wolpert's, that would be beautiful shop. Kyle Anderson's shop, surgical.
Brandon's.
Yep, Brandon's is super nice. We were out in Saginaw, out at American Gasser.
Yeah.
That was a really cool shop to check out.
Stuff out there.
Because they're a multiple award-winning shop, and we've got to see a lot of cool stuff. And I'm kind of hoping for this season is almost every episode last season, someone said their dream car. And then almost like within like a couple of episodes, we had somebody that had that person's dream car in that garage. It was so cool, because I was like, holy crap, this is cool. Someone was just talking about a Ford GT. Justin with the Ford GT.
Like, I do like the Ford GTs. I've always wanted to own like the 05, 06 era GT. There's just something about those cars is really cool.
There was a 67 Camaro. Steve with the 69 Camaro SS.
It's like my dream car is a 69 SS Camaro.
Or a Chevelle.
Yeah.
And there it was.
Yeah, we could almost do a montage of this person said what they liked, and then we're seeing it. And then they said what they would have for their dream car, and then we're seeing it. I mean, I guess it's a future episode you can look forward to.
That's above my pay grade.
The way that my bank account is set up, the thing is,
That's why Greg does all the editing and I just sit here and talk like an idiot. So let's get right into your 67, Greg, because we know it was absent for a lot of meets this summer for a very good reason.
Block that's actually sitting right here. It's not where it's supposed to be.
No.
Well, technically right now it's where it's supposed to be. But so what have we got going on here?
You now have a twin turbo setup in this thing, and it's cool.
It's definitely one of those things that thought about forever as a kid, you know, growing up.
Have you ever had a dream?
You get your first car and it's a beater, you know, and you're flipping through the pages of magazines and just dreaming. You know, I mean, it might have taken me 30 years to get here, but a lot of design changes along the way.
Yeah.
You know, you get an idea in your head, and just along the way, creativity kind of takes the wheel. And you get influenced by friends and other forms of media. You know, we're all watching a lot of our favorite builders on YouTube, Instagram, and everything, and you see something, oh man, I should do that, or I should have done this way. Just whether it's a part or it's a technique or it's a modification or something, we're all kind of inspiring each other. And
I mean, who doesn't love a twin turbo big block?
right.
I spoiled it for your comment, by the way. It's a twin turbo big block, if you didn't already know. It's pretty cool.
It really was a hard decision. I knew I wanted to. At first, I was going as far as I could naturally aspirated. You know, that was one of my biggest bragging points, was being able to keep up with everybody that we race, who's spraying nitrous, who's supercharged, who's turbocharged.
You're making life really difficult, by the way, because everybody's been stepping their game up. So I blew through my budget big time trying to keep up with everybody because Greg.
Well, you know, we're all trying to keep up with each other, and
Right.
somehow I get put on this pedestal every once in a while. But I see everybody coming. You know, I see everybody making progress, and I had to do something. And in the beginning, I thought maybe I was just going to throw some nitrous on it. You know, and it is a hard decision to choose between supercharger, turbocharger, nitrous, a combination of two, you know, and how you want to do it, because there's so many ways you can go turbo.
Yeah.
Compound turbo, sequential compound, twin turbo, bi-turbo. I mean, you really have so much to consider when you're sitting down and you need to form a budget and a parts list. You got to start somewhere. And I mean, it probably took me a good 6 months of researching, scrolling, clicking, asking questions, checking out other people's builds, picking people's brains, because I mean, I was a turbo virgin. In the beginning, I couldn't tell you the difference between a wastegate and a blow-off valve.
Right.
And the knowledge that I gained along the way, figuring all this out and building my own, it was fun along the way. I mean, you have your frustrating moments where you're out here practicing all your swear words and practicing
Learning some new ones.
practicing your indoor wrench toss. And, you know, as long as you stick with it, you get some busted knuckles and you end up with something that runs and drives and goes down the road.
It's a very nice job. I know you've had a lot of hands in there helping out too. And everybody's done a fantastic job in making this dream, I think, come true for you.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing this on my own. I do as much as I can on my own, but ultimately I need you guys and the rest of our friends and everyone. We've got a pretty good network of helpful people, knowledgeable people. I mean, even people who, you know, they don't have a whole lot of experience, but they're willing to help out. It's nice, you know.
Right.
I can't reach everything. There's a lot of times where just trying to turn a wrench, I'm just sliding myself across the floor, and I need someone who's got a little bit more ass to to help me out with things. But that's a big part of what we do, is the camaraderie.
Right.
You know, it would be a lonely world if I was out here just building this car by myself, just for myself. Nobody ever saw it. Nobody ever got to enjoy it with me. And
You know, we talk about that a lot too, that in our area we have a pretty good group of guys, and the people around us are pretty good about, if we need help, They're
yeah.
there.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't matter if they're your best friend or your worst enemy in the car world. If you need help, you got it.
Yeah, I've got help from people who I have hardly ever even had a conversation with. Somebody knows that you need help and they've got something that they can loan or offer to help you out. There's a good chance they're going to do it.
And what better fun project to help out on than a twin turbo big block?
Right. And as common as they are, I still wanted to try to do something that you don't see every day.
Right.
First gen Camaros are all over the place. They made about 250,000 or so of them, 67, 68, and 69. And you can buy a new one. You can buy the shell for like 15 grand and build it from there. So they're all over the place, and everybody's doing all kinds of stuff with them. I started out hollowing out the turn lights, and it was just ram air. When it was naturally aspirated, it was just like a little ram air setup. It was an idea I had. I thought it was cool. I thought it was different, and I stuck with it. It got some compliments. It was just being unique. It's fun to pull in somewhere and people just start pulling out their phones because they've never seen anything like it. Everybody's seen a first generation Camaro, but not everybody's seen what I've done to it.
Right, and that's the ultimate thing about the cars too, is you can take a car that there's 250,000 or 1 million of them out there, and you make one that's coming down the road, and you can say, that's Greg's car.
Yeah.
And it's unmistakable that that's whose car it is. Although there's 1 million other cars of that model out there, whose car it is when it's coming down the road.
And that's the enjoyment and the gratification that you get out of, like, it's personalization, because we personalize everything that we live in. We don't all live in a plain white house with black shutters and a white picket fence. You plain white walls in the house. You hang up a picture. You paint a room. You put tattoos on. You embroider a hat. You get a design on your shirt. To leave a car alone, it doesn't make any sense. And then where do you draw the line at when to stop?
Right, and it's been regurgitated 100 times, but life really is too short to drive a boring car.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, some people are just into the commuter car thing, but not us. And not you. If you're watching this, we know you're into modifying or enjoying your car, whether you have a factory-built race car and that's what you bought it for, is to go do factory race car stuff, and that's perfectly okay too.
I mean, even putting a bumper sticker on a car is a form of
customization, right?
Yeah.
So if you had to choose between performance or style, which way you lean in?
As much as I do like getting creative, fabricating things, being different, being unique, I ultimately do seek out performance, because whether or not people see you driving it or see it parked in the parking lot, I do get a lot of gratification from people seeing it, complimenting it. You see a picture of your car posted online that you didn't take and you didn't post.
That's the ultimate compliment. It's like,
it's super rewarding, that somebody saw the thing that you made and appreciated it enough to want to show other people.
It's another high? Wait till a scammer you try to use it in your car to try to scam people, and you're like, oh, that's my car!
I haven't got to that level yet, but as far as performance goes, it just feels so awesome sitting in the seat and feeling 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 horsepower, and just the acceleration, the G-forces, even if you're not going into corners, It's
your own personal roller coaster.
Yeah, it is. And it's part of performance for me is reliability. If something isn't performing well, it's not reliable. And I hate getting stranded. I hate when stuff breaks. And if I had to choose, I'd go with performance. If I could drive around in something that always went fast, never broke down, and nobody saw me, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. How is performance different from you? Well, you're obviously in a wheelchair. We all know.
What? No way. Fuck's sake.
How is it different for you than it would be for me?
Well, I think maybe it takes a little bit to get used to the hand controls. I wouldn't say it's something not everybody can do, but...
That's no kidding, by the way.
Driving with your feet for so long, you build a muscle memory.
Yeah.
So if you're driving along using hand controls, and a dog jumps out in front of you. You know that you have to push the hand controls for brakes, but your brain wants to stomp on that brake pedal. So getting the muscle memory built up, just getting your instincts and your reactions built in. There's a lot to figure out because you can go to driver's training, you can take racing classes and everything as an able-bodied person. But as a disabled person, you're kind of figuring it out on your own. There's so many different styles of hand controls out there. And then when you start adding stuff like line lock and two-step, and you need to launch, and there's a lot to pay attention to. And the way we race, an eighth of a mile is over in 6-7 seconds. There's so much going on
in that short time.
And I only have one hand on the wheel. Thankfully, automatics are faster than manuals when it comes to drag racing.
Sorry about your bad luck, guys.
Generally.
Generally.
There's some fast stick shifts out there, but at the end of the day, you're disconnecting the engine from the transmission, even if it's for a fraction of a second. But there are guys who race with manual transmissions. Disabled guys race with manual transmissions. And I mean, there is a lot going on in there.
No, I can only imagine.
So I before I was disabled, I did love driving manuals. But for what we're doing and everything I've got going on in there, I really do like my automatic. I've got to consider things like, what's my wheelchair going to do if I slam on the brakes or if I cut the wheel and I got to turn this way, that way. There are a few other things I got to consider. But that is one big part of being in my car is I don't really feel disabled. Nobody sees my chair. Nobody sees that I can't stand up. I got the windows tinted, and going down the road, it's just another badass car on the road. And it really does give me another piece of my independence and my freedom. And it's one of the reasons that I really got back into, well, I wouldn't say back into, I really stayed into the car scene throughout my injury. I didn't sell any of my cars. Everything went into storage until I got out of the hospital. And first thing I did was take driver's training because you have to have a hand control endorsement on your license. And it was like a 6-hour driving course that I had to take with an instructor. Super simple. I mean, just basic driving around town is easy. It's those emergency reflexes and stuff that you got to get built in that takes a little bit of time.
Like you're saying, you're so used to the muscle memory of you're just trying to step on the brake pedal and you can't because...
And my legs aren't holding me up, so the harness really helps keep me in my seat. Because if I turn left too hard, I'm going to end up falling over onto the console in the passenger seat. So when I first got this thing and it had no power brakes, no power steering, and just lap belts, I had a few pretty interesting trips to the gas station and back.
So is there anything you regret doing to the car?
It is a really tough question. There's a lot of things that I would probably do
differently,
a little differently, or maybe improve on, but it's really hard to think if I have any regrets at this point. Maybe, small things, like I might have wasted money here and there, doing something the wrong way, buying cheap parts or something.
No, that's just part of the learning curve, though, in all fairness.
Yeah, but you've said it on multiple episodes. Buy once, cry once.
Yep.
My biggest regrets would probably be thinking I could get away with buying the cheap version of an expensive thing. Because later on down the road, you break the cheap thing and you're faced...
Buying it again.
Yeah, you're faced with, do you buy the cheap thing over and over until you far exceeded the cost of the expensive thing and you just look and feel dumb? Or do you just bite the bullet?
Suck it up and get the good part the first time.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to make sure that I have the best quality stuff I can get. Best quality stuff I would say that I can afford, but I like saying that I can finance because that's a major part of how I've been able to do so much in such a short amount of time is I don't got thousands and thousands of dollars just laying around waiting for me to spend it, but
just like most of us.
PayPal and Affirm are pretty they're pretty good at giving me all this imaginary money that I promise them to pay back.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're all pretty poor.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's having something to show for it is what where being poor counts.
Yeah. You know something, and it's also, I feel it's more than just the car too, because yeah, the cars are fun, and I love my cars, and you love your cars, but like you said earlier, I probably wouldn't keep doing if it wasn't for the friends.
Yeah.
You guys are terrible influences and assholes for that, but it's all right.
Well, and I've seen people who, I've got a friend, we got injured a day apart. He was diving into a pool and he broke his neck. He got out of the hospital and he sat home feeling sorry for himself. He sold his car. He had a cool Camaro.
Ooh.
He had a 4th gen. All kinds of stuff done to it. And he just sat home just being sad all day at his mom's house. Moved back in with his mom. And I came out and visited him a couple times, and he watched me get out of my car. And from there, that motivated him to get back into cars. And now he got sick of this cold weather, and he lives down in Tennessee now. But he drives a GTO.
Well, I know who's smarter.
Right? He is a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
I think he's working for like a law firm or something down there. He's doing really well. But there's plenty of times we have the conversation where he sort of accredits me for dragging his ass out of the house, getting him back into cars, because he'd just be sitting at his mom's house boo-hooing, catching rides and public transit. And
Right. Sometimes it takes that friend though to give the push.
yeah. And I mean, it's that, like you said, life's too short to drive boring cars, but if you don't have a car at all, it's even shorter and more boring. So getting him back into cars and getting him out of the house, that was a big accomplishment.
So what's one piece of advice that someone along the way in the car hobby gave to you that you still use today, or that you even pass on to others? Because you are right now, you're the guy. You're the guy in the area. So what's something that you pass on to the new upcoming young guys?
You know, I do get a lot of messages. I think people see that I'm just so connected in the car community with other car guys. They assume that I know a lot about cars. I know a lot about my car. I know a lot about the other cars that I've owned and have worked on. I really don't have a lot of general knowledge on building and fixing cars. Big blocks, small blocks, cool. When it comes to this tuning stuff, it's a foreign language to me, which I'm actually better at foreign languages than I am at tuning. But we already did kind of cover it. I remember my auto shop teacher in high school. I went to Sheboygan area high school. And Mr. Johnsky, he was like the most knowledgeable car guy that I think I've ever met. I could bring my truck in there, and it didn't seem to matter what the issue was. I'd think it was going to cost me thousands of dollars. I'm going to be without the truck for months. And he'd come over and just like poke something, point something out, and it's fixed. Like the guy was magic. And he saw me wanting to do what I wanted to do with the truck and buying the cheap parts. And we had this quote from Mark Twain hanging up in the auto shop, and it said, "If you don't have time to do it right, where we find time to do it over." And he used to point to that all the time, every time he saw me cheaping out on something. And that's realistically like where I learned initially that it's better to get the more expensive name brand quality part. It didn't sink in, you know, until you really do start wanting to do stuff like performance transmissions and rear ends and engines and things that are actually really expensive. You know, I don't mean like a $50 part versus a $70 part. When there's hundreds or thousands of dollars in between, it does hurt to buy that more expensive thing. But later on down the road, when it's been years and that thing hasn't failed on you, and you're watching people with the cheaper version of it change them like socks, I mean, it's a good peace of mind going, man, I could have wasted so much money. I could be that guy with all those busted up plastic cheap Chinese parts. And
Because time is money.
yeah. And it's probably been one of the more valuable things that I've been told that I've been able to pass on to other people.
It's a pretty good piece of advice. Take note of that. So with the current build that's in the car, is there anybody, we asked this all last season too, and we've already asked you this last season, but this is a whole new world with the twin turbo big block. Is there anybody you want to specifically thank for helping out with that thing?
Oh man, I don't want to make the list too big, but I know Mike Dotson. He built the engine for me. Big help. Guy knows what he's doing, and I haven't even put a timing light on this or tuned it yet. He set the timing, we got it running, and I've been driving it. I knew I was only going to be able to get it to a few meets before I had to park it, so I wasn't in a hurry. It went down the road. I haven't made any passes with it yet. But I was completely ignorant on boost and turbos, and I really am not the greatest welder. So when it came to having to fabricate up the cold side in the exhaust, Dave York, he is one of the best. Not only is he a pipe fitter, but he's a phenomenal welder. So he was the perfect guy for this job.
Yeah.
It's a shame that the cold side of the turbo is all, hidden behind the headlights and stuff.
Because the welds look gorgeous on there.
Yeah, and I want to powder coat those parts so that they match my valve covers. And hopefully when people are looking around, that catches their eye and they can take a better look at some of his work and appreciate it, because not only did he do an awesome job, he did it in a hurry. Because, you were here,
Oh, yeah, he turned out those parts in a couple of hours for you. He came over, hey, does this fit like this? Okay, cool, mark it, I'll see you in a couple hours.
Yeah, it was the day of the season end meet.
Yep.
And the meet started at 5 o'clock, and at 4:59, I was pulling this out of the garage to head to the meet. It might have been leaking a couple of things here and there, but it made it there, man, and it made the whole summer worth being down, having the car in parts. Every time we had another event coming up, I thought, I'm going to make it to the burnout contest. Oh, I'm going to make it to track day. And there's just so many unforeseen things when you're going through such a major transformation. To go from a naturally aspirated engine to twin turbos with all the other stuff I added. I added an engine oil cooler. The intercooler was not made to fit in the spot that I got it to fit in. And I honestly still don't know how I shoehorned that thing in there, but it's in there. I had to relocate the transmission cooler to the back underneath, and just all the AN fittings and the lines and everything I had to run. All the delays from the machine shop to parts being back ordered. I thought I was getting my rotating assembly within 3 days of ordering it.
Oh, and that was a huge delay for you. I remember that, yeah.
Ended up being almost 4 months I was waiting for it. So I planned on having this car ready last spring. We worked on it all summer. I got it out for the last couple meets of the year.
Yep. We got our pictures.
Yep. And then parked it. It still has a few things left that I want to do. I want to powder coat all of this stuff to kind of pretty it up a little bit. I did clean up a ton of rat's nest wiring. I added some bus bar terminals that really cleaned things up. I got a little bit more tidying up to do, but overall, like I said, it runs and it drives. And I didn't think I was ever going to get to that point. When you take that first bolt out, when you're starting the engine removal process, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. If you do, it looks like the headlight of the train that's coming down the tracks.
It's going to run you over.
So getting there, getting the engine out, getting it to the machine shop, getting the rotating assembly, watching Mike build the engine.
Yep.
And then getting the turbos to fit how and where I wanted to. I could have them pointed straight up, and I would have shaved months off of my build time. Yeah, it'd look cool with turbos.
That's not what you had in your head, though.
Yeah, I would not have been able to sleep if I strayed from the vision that I started with. Because like I said, I started with these just being my turn lights to ram airports, and it was always in my head that that's where the turbos had to breathe through. And getting it down there, there is this much room between the radiator and the turbos on both sides.
For the record, a very satisfying thing is I got to cut a hole in an original 67 Camaro fender. You're like, you don't have remorse about that? I was like, nope. It was my buddy's dream. That's what he wanted to do.
I kept the cutouts too. Those are going up on the wall.
Make a little medallion out of them.
Yeah. What is it? A 55-year-old fender that
oh my God, yeah.
Nobody's really ever abused or molested.
Yeah, they weren't filled or nothing. I was expecting to drill into it and find a big chunk of Bondo or something, or nothing there.
No.
Just metal. That's it.
Yeah.
So, we I know we got on the name thing, and it kind of brought me up to another question. Like, this is episode 1, or season 2, episode 1, we're coming up with some new questions here, so bear with us here. What are some of the things that you did add? Because we didn't go over all that. You know, some of it's been brought up, but what size turbos are in it?
So these are from an eBay listing that had very little information, and they came and they showed up, and when I tell you there aren't any markings or anything on these turbos, I am not kidding. There's hardly any, there's no brand name, there's no nothing. I mean, they're cheap. I'm not ashamed to say they're a little bit cheaper turbos. I've been trying to make sure that I have the best quality stuff I can get. It's okay to kind of cheap out on turbos when you're first starting out. You know, I'm not trying to make 2,000 horsepower. I'm not trying to ride wheelies all the way from one end of Euclid to the other. I just wanted to get my feet wet with it, and I do plan on upgrading later. So I had to do a lot of math, a lot of question asking. I had some lengthy conversations with ChatGPT helping me figure this out.
Yep.
And everything that I crunched came up to that they're about 62 millimeters.
Yep. And don't be ashamed out there to run a Chinese turbo, because even your companies like VS Racing, On3, stuff like that, those are all just rebranded Chinese no-name turbos. They come from the same Wuhan war whistle factory.
Yeah.
And they just rebrand them.
Hello, I'm Chinese.
But that's what I've been told, is to be careful of the turbos are fine, but don't use the blow-off valves of the wastegates, and you didn't.
No, I got some pretty good, I mean, they are Summit brand, but when you...
They're tile all day.
They're tile. When you, even the instructions say, if you want to buy alternate springs for them, to use tile springs. If you need a new O-ring or a gasket, order them from Tile. And I have a Tile blow-off valve right there. It is exactly, piece for piece, the same thing as that Summit one. The only difference is the color, and one says Tile, one says Summit.
Right. That's all Summit Racing does, is they're going to other manufacturers and having them.
I've got a ton of parts like that.
Yeah.
My dipstick tube, my electric fans, they look exactly like the expensive name brand stuff, except they just say Summit on them.
Right. Even my racing coat is a Summit brand coat, and it's made by Stroud.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I went to Justin LaRocque's place to fill some nitrous bottles, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Stroud makes those." I was like, "Well, that's kind of cool." But so, is there anything else beside the turbos that's new in the hardware? Because I know it's not the same cam, is it?
That's the only thing that's the same.
Is it the only thing that's the same?
Yeah.
So I totally shot that one the wrong hoop.
So the rotating assembly is essentially the same I took out, except everything's forged. I had cast rotating assembly before, and I was about 600 horsepower. I was at the limits of it. Anytime I would call Blueprint to ask them questions like, what's my ring gap? And all I was asking is, what's the ring gap? And the representative on the phone goes, Greg, don't spray this engine with nitrous. And I didn't say anything about nitrous. I just asked what the ring gap was.
Everything is happier with nitrous.
I had a few friends tell me to call some of the cam manufacturers and explain to them, give them my specs, tell them what I'm trying to do. And everyone was telling me, there's no reason for what you're trying to do. That's the perfect cam. So I just haven't done anything with the cam. I love it. I mean, it sounds good. It's performed good for me. And if you watch, what's his name? Brian Holdner?
Yeah.
On YouTube, he says every cam is a turbo cam.
Right.
I don't care whether it's a stock cam, a truck cam, a positive displacement blower cam, NA, turbo, nitrous, whatever it is. I'll close my eyes. I'll walk over to that shelf. I'll grab a camshaft and I'll stick it in a motor on the dyno. I'll run it NA, and guess what? I'll also run it under boost. Because it doesn't matter what that camshaft does. Whatever it does NA, when I add the turbo to it, it's just going to multiply whatever is there.
And the one that I have in there now, I'm happy with it. If I do upgrade, it's probably I'm gonna go up in cubic inch as well as a new cam and bigger turbos.
Yeah, because you actually had a lot of problems inside the motor from the other motor, that there was a lot of stuff worn out.
Yeah, I mean, I've been running it since 2016. I've beaten the absolute snot out of it. So at first I felt really bad about taking a perfectly good running engine out. But then I saw what was sitting in the oil pan and what the bearings looked like, and it was like, oof, caught this one just in time.
Yeah, because me living next to Mike, we talk about that stuff all the time, and he's like, "You should have seen it." I was like, "Yeah."
I still got some of the bearings sitting around as reminders and trophy pieces, but I had some issues with the ignition system. We tried that distributor out, and it dumped so much fuel down into the engine that I know a lot of it went into the oil and washed the bearings out.
It doesn't take long.
And they were, like I said, I've been running it since 2016, pretty hard. And it was, it was time. It was
pass after pass after pass after pass. I've seen the headlights and the taillights of it.
Yeah.
So, but it's been fun. But I'm glad to see it's back up and running, man.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't think I was ever going to get there. And getting down to the wire on that day when Dave was over here, and we were getting the exhaust and everything all buttoned up, and just hoping that the ECU on the Sniper was going to be okay with the boost going into it.
We also had the problems too the one day where nothing would turn on. Nothing. Yeah, it was frustrating.
Had a few wires crossed, and right when you think game over, got to start all over, just take a break, step back, go back at it, and I found the issue and got back on track. And I actually had a buddy from high school I haven't seen for a couple of years stop by the other day, and will this thing fire up? I'm like, yeah, it'll fire up.
It's an incredible car, and it's come a long way, and it's like the staple of the car meets. Like, that's the car that normally people are always looking for, and generally doesn't miss one. But this one was a little different because it was going bigger, better, faster. Everything about it's better.
Yeah, hopefully it's a couple years before I have to do that again. I do got one major upgrade I'd like to do at some time, but I want to enjoy it now. It was down for so long and so much work went into it that I've got to spend at least a summer or two just cruising it and enjoying it again.
Well, gonna get some drag strip time with it.
I mean, a little bit.
A little bit.
Mexico drag strip.
Mexico. You're not gonna take it to the track day? Yeah, we're gonna make sure it's there.
We'll see. We'll see.
You ain't gotta be scared, Greg. It's okay. Mike put the motor together. It's good to go. I don't think he included a warranty with it, but
I mean, he did accidentally break one of the rings and he replaced it.
Yeah, but that's the way Mike rolls, though.
Yeah.
That's why there's some other people that have taken their stuff to him, is because that's the way that Mike is.
Yeah.
That if something does happen, he's going to cover it, and that's the beauty of Hack Job Racing. Yeah.
There's more than one of us in the group who he's had his hands in their engine.
Yeah, he's helped me a time or two, and he's a good person to have on hand because he's super knowledgeable.
Yeah, I know he's worked on Alex's. He's got Shane's motor right now.
Yeah, he's got Shane Mader's big block right now doing that one, and yeah, it's he's good. So, is there anybody else you want to thank?
I mean, you've been here a handful of nights.
Couple.
You even came over on your birthday to come film this. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Everybody in our close group. I mean, I can think of, like, Chris Neville loaned me some tools, and he's at every single car meet there to give advice. That guy really knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Pat McCarthy's given me some advice. That is a very valuable asset to have him on your side and even be able to ask him a question and get some advice from someone that knowledgeable. It's really thankful that we've got people like that on our side. Joe Latarte, Alex has been over here helping. I mean, it's been a while since he showed his face, but Billy Carl was even over here.
Yep.
Gary, he's been over here a handful of times.
Yep.
Richard's been over here helping me out. Joey, we've got.
And you're like me. It's if you're forgetting somebody, it's not a huge deal. They know.
Yeah.
It's just, look, when you're on the spot in front of the camera, it's a little different.
Right. Give me a homework assignment. And I'll turn it in tomorrow with all the questions answered. But I know Kyle Anderson's helped me out. Yeah. We got the guys down at American Gasser. Yeah. I was doing a little bit of welding, a little too close to the radiator, and she she sprung a little pinhole leak, and they're going to help me out. You know, our good buddy Grant, who's not very active on social medias.
Yeah.
He's got himself a new baby, but he's still...
Congratulations, Grant.
He's still on tap to, at the very least, loan advice and tools. A handful of his tools, spent some time out here.
Super knowledgeable suspension guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big time on suspension.
The guy to go to if you need suspension tuning.
Especially for roundy round guy.
Yeah.
He is like the guy anymore.
I've even got my neighbor Mike over here. He's a little bit older than us, but he grew up in the area, street racing and wrenching. My neighbor Jeff over here, same thing. It's nice to know people.
Dealing with all the chaos from out in the parking lot, because if you're new to the group, because we do have some younger people, like our burnout contests and the meets and stuff, the Bay City car meet, it started 40 feet to my left.
Yeah.
Out in front of the garage in the big pad. We'd all come down here and hang out. This is where it started. We're sitting in the mecca of Bay City car meet right now.
Yeah, I just, every Friday I'd start sending out messages and phone calls. You guys gonna come hang out tomorrow? And whoever showed up. And
yep.
On the way out, a few people would do burnouts, and that evolved into the burnout contests. And
Yep.
we're still going. I mean, it's been since about, what, 20, I think I got pictures of the driveway meets back in 2015, 2016.
Something like that. It's been a minute. Holy crap, time's flying.
Yeah, getting close to 10 years now.
We're going to have to have a 10-year anniversary party or something when it rolls around.
Yeah.
If we haven't killed ourselves on the street or something like that before then. But as we talk about the car meets a little bit, since we're here, I can guarantee there's some people that are reluctant about coming to the car meets because their car is not super modified. Is there anything you can tell them to encourage them that it doesn't matter?
Yeah, that's a perfect person to be coming out to the meets, because you'll get your inspiration from everybody else that has been putting work in. Because we don't focus our meets to any specific demographic. It's everyone's welcome. If you just bring your daily driver in that you got some window tint and a bumper sticker on, bring it out. Come out, meet people, shake hands, have conversations, take pictures, check out cool cars.
There's everything out there to get some inspiration for future mods for you.
Yeah, the parking lot is never dominated by one specific type of car. There is fast cars, slow cars, lowered cars, lifted trucks, airbags, hydraulics, race cars. Just, there's everything out there. We got young kids, older people. We've got...
Yeah, it's kid friendly. I take my daughter down there and she loves it.
Yeah, we try having food out there. We try having games going. We try just making it as fun of a, it's only a few hours every Saturday. For you and I, it's a big dedication. We've got a lot wrapped up into the wintertime stuff, filming, the summertime stuff, setting up. I mean, I don't really have time to take a lot of vacations or do much. My weekends are mostly getting car meet stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I get the luxury that sometime once in a while, if I miss one, it's not a big deal. Where Greg, he's kind of the face of it, so if he misses one, it's not a big deal.
If I'm not there, it's on my mind.
Yeah. Well, same with me. And I'm always thinking about it. I wonder how it's going. Sometimes I make a phone call. Greg does the same thing. How's it going down there? I'm on my way down. Like, even when you're coming down with this, I'm on my way down. Yeah. But it's always a good time. I would suggest that if you haven't been down there, even if you don't have a car yet, come down and check it out.
Yeah.
It's like a car show every single weekend. And it's not a car show, guys. It's a car meet. So you can come and go as you please. Some people think that if they show up, they don't show up because, I have to leave in 45 minutes. Duck your head in for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Some people just circle through the parking lot. They don't even get out of their car.
Right.
And we don't mind that either. If you're just coming through to check stuff out while you're on your way somewhere, that's perfectly fine. We get people who show up earlier than we do and stay until everybody leaves. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nope.
You're just coming out for just a casual day of hanging out. That's all it is. A car show, you got to be there at a specific time. You got to register. There's a fee. you might be hoping to win a trophy or something. And while we do hand out trophies occasionally for some of our events, there's no registration fee. Like, we're not one of these groups that's profiting off of our members. We're lucky if we break even when it comes to the t-shirts, the hats, the little bit of food that we sell. We're losing out on most of that.
And I've used this saying because if you didn't know that Greg and I are on the Cool City Car Show Committee, and I've used this line before that if you don't lose money planning something like this, you're doing it wrong. And what I'm referring to isn't necessarily, you're not losing thousands of dollars, but you're talking about, you're not getting reimbursed for gasoline or buying a knick-knack or a doodad for the car show or something. Or, right. So, and I know you've lost money, I've lost money. My wife's running on the camera right now. Hi, honey. She's lost money having to run out and get stuff. It's just what it is. And we do it because we have a passion for keeping everybody in that group.
Yeah. And we do get some recognition. You know, we get people who will thank us for doing what we're doing, because there's not a lot of people who are, you know, there's the Midland group.
Yeah.
I think there's a second Midland group that popped up at the end of last year. I don't know if there's a ton of stuff going on in Saginaw, but in this general area, there's not a lot going on besides your regular annual car shows. You know, you got the Bernie Park, you've got the Cool City Car Show, you've got Frankenmuth, Back to the Bricks, the Woodward Dream Cruise. You've got some big annual events, and it's once a year. In between all of that, that's
dead space.
Yeah, that's where we like to shine, is rather than people bust their ass to get their car looking good, running good, to go hit 4 or 5 events in the summer. I mean, that hardly seems worth your money and your effort. So if there's something you can just come to, show your car off every weekend, or if you can only get out 1 weekend a month, we're there every week.
Right, and it's also a safe environment too, because in the lot that we're at over at Rowley's, we do have permission for that, so it makes it a little more comfortable. We just don't allow the burnouts and stuff purely for. We have a business's permission, and that's a lot of liability on it. If you want to do burnouts and stuff, we have 2 separate events for that in the year. So, well, 2 I held up. We have 2 separate events for that, for the burnout contest, and you feel like you can go whip it around, come on out. But for the car meets, come to hang out and get to know some people and make some friends. I've made lifelong friends at the car meets, and Greg has made, I can guarantee, has made new friends.
I've probably shaken more hands at car meets than anywhere else that I've gone in my life.
Yeah.
It's a good community, man.
And if you'd like to be on a future episode of Car Meet Garage, you can get a hold of myself or Car Meet Greg, either on Facebook, or probably Facebook's the best bet, or
Facebook,
email,
Instagram,
email.
Yeah.
And we'll get you in the books. And we actually have some people in line right now. You guys are going to really enjoy the season, I think.
Yeah.
At the returns of some of the new faces we have and that we're going to try to get.
Yeah.
So
we've got our wish list of interviewees.
Yeah, we definitely have a wish list. So it's going to be hard to top the first one because we had some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
So
we like to get this first one out of the way, starting with me, so that we can kind of gain some traction, figure out what our questions are going to be, get a good format going for everybody else who follows after. So,
and is there any questions you want us to ask?
Yeah, if there's any questions you think we should be asking that we're not asking, go ahead and drop some comments, send me a message, get a hold of us however you can, because we appreciate any and all feedback that we get, because we're doing this for you. You know, we do have fun doing this, like we've stated. We like traveling around, seeing what everybody's got, but ultimately we do like just providing wintertime entertainment and keeping our group thriving, keeping the local car community, car scene thriving throughout the year. And if there's any ideas that you guys want to present to us that you think could help us do what we're doing, we take on everything that...
And if you think you live too far away for us to go to, you probably don't. You live in Florida? Cool. Maybe we'll think about it. Like a warm weather vacation to shoot for the channel? That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, and I should ask, and you can throw this wherever at it, because Greg, by the way, edits every single video, does an amazing job. Because this episode is kind of like off the cusp or whatever. From last season, we ask you guys too, what was your favorite episode from season 1? Well, you're thinking Brian Wolpert's. That was my favorite. My favorite garage was Brian Wolpert.
Probably,
it's no offense to anybody else, it was Brian's.
Brian's for the shop
Yeah.
and the cars. Pat McCarthy for the knowledge and the conversation.
Ooh, yeah. That was a lot of knowledge.
Yeah. And that one was edited down, and it was still one of our longer videos.
Yeah. And it's no offense to anybody out there at all. I love doing every single episode that we did. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but Brian being able around the I like Corvettes, and he had that ZR1, which went to 1320 video, which was cool.
Yeah.
That was one of their giveaway cars, ended up being, after we did the interview with it, and after I got to sit it and stuff, and he's got the Ford GT, and that hit all of my check marks.
Even the Chevelle. And
the Chevelle.
Tri-5.
Yup. It just hit a lot of check marks.
Everything, the first gen Camaro, everything.
Yup.
And then Pat, I mean, when you're in the newspaper for building engines at 13 years old,
Yeah.
and you never slowed down, never stopped, and he's got to be what, like in his 60s now? 50s, 60s? You know, he's been doing it.
You would think he's 23.
Yeah.
That's what building engines does to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so whatever you guys' favorite episode was, let us know. And we're going to try to get back to some of those same shops to see kind of where they're at.
Yeah, we've got some people to follow up with that we're in the middle of some projects.
Yeah, a lot of them. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. I know this was kind of everywhere episode.
Yeah.
But it was the first one, and we wanted to cover a lot of stuff, and to especially talk about Greg's 67 Camaro, because some people might have missed it this summer. It's back, baby.
It's back.
It's back. Making turbo noises. All right, guys. We'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in.